Hi everyone, this is Dr. Kristen Hess. We're going to use 3-column notes today and talk about graphing in Excel. Specifically, we're going to look at histograms and frequency distributions. I've got a problem here. I'm going to show you the data and where I got it. And this is data about butterflies. And this butterfly data, when you open it up, you can find the wingspan of different butterflies. And so this is what we have here. And so we have this page of butterfly information, and you can read about each different type of butterfly and their range of wingspans. And so I collected the minimum wingspan of a group of butterflies and put it into the presentation for us to analyze here. And so this is our data. Before we go too much further, I'm going to talk to you about a histogram. Histogram is a graph of data. It uses bars to tell you the height or the frequency. Taller bars represent higher frequency. The bars are touching. And so we're going to use this data to make a histogram. And we're going to use Excel. You can also do this in Google Sheets. We're going to learn about changing text into columns. We're going to paste and transpose data. We're going to change the title, and we're going to change bins. So I'm going to open up our Excel spreadsheet and show you what I'm talking about. So if you go to the comments on the video, you can copy and paste the data. You might need to pause the video to do that. So click in a cell, and once you've got the data, you can go to Home and Paste, or you can Control V. So here's my data. And so notice how it's all in one cell. So I'm going to click on the data, and then I'm going to go to Data, the Data tab up here on the top in the center, and click on Text to Column. And I'm going to click on Delimited, click on Next, and click comma. So everywhere there's a comma, it becomes a new cell. And now my data is spread out. I'm going to format this too to look like the rest. If you go to Home, click on a cell that you like the formatting on, click on Format Painter, and click the paintbrush, then the data is all formatted the same. Now, instead of having the data lined up horizontally, I want it vertically, so I'm going to copy it. I'm going to click on a new cell. I'm going to go to Paste and click on the Transpose button. And while we're here, I'm going to order it. We don't need to order it for histograms, but we do need it ordered for frequency diagrams. And to order it, you go to Data and click on this A to Z, and now it's ordered smallest to largest. I'm going to click Escape to get off that. I'm going to highlight my data. I'm going to go to Insert, go to my statistical charts, and click on just the plain histogram. Double click on the title and change the title. So I'm going to change it to Butterfly Wingspan. And now I would like more than 4 bars. And so I'm going to click on these values on the bottom, and it's going to pop up this menu. One option is to select the number of bins. So if I want 6 bins, it will automatically change it. If I want 7, I can do that as well. Or I can tell it how far apart to put them. Because notice here the numbers that they've selected are long repeating decimals. Those are sometimes hard to work with. So I'm going to just change it to 1/2 inch. And so now we see that we have the data right here. So notice how all the butterfly wingspans from 0.75 to 1.25. So all of these ones right here, all 7 of those go in this box. Because this is a round bracket, the 1.25s go on the first bar, not the second one. The square bracket says that it's included, round is not. So the second bar, we're going to go to everything bigger than 1.25 up to 1.75. And so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 So this right here tells us there's 10. So this bar represents the 10 types of butterflies with a wingspan between 1.25 and 1.75. There is nothing between 1.75 and 1.25. Again, remember the square bracket means it's included. And the round bracket means it's not. And so same here, the 2.25 to 2.75, because of the square bracket, the 2.75, let's see, 2.25 up to 2.75 will go right here. And then 2.75 to 3.25, this is just the one right here and one right here. So that's our histogram. So let's talk about the frequency distribution. So frequency distribution is another way to visualize data. The frequency distribution summarizes data, equal sized groups again, kind of like our bins and histograms, and you're going to provide counts and percents. And so we'll use the same data, and we're going to set up a table like this. And so in it, we're going to have X is going to be the same as our bins from the histograms. And then we'll count the number of items in each bin, and then we'll find the decimal and the percent. And we'll do all of this in Excel. This does take a little more manual work than a histogram, but it can all be done in there. So go back to Excel. So because our data is already sorted, we're ready to start. And I'm going to keep the histogram open here because I'm going to use these same bins that we had before. So we're going to have our X values, our count, decimals, decimal, and percent. So we're going to just use these exact same bins and copy them over. Okay, now that I've written down the bins for my histogram, notice how these all match up with these. And so it just makes it evenly spaced. A way to check is 0.75 plus 0.5 is 1.25. 1.25 plus 0.5 is 1.75, and so forth and so forth. Normally, you would want to keep the brackets the same, all the left ones round and all the right ones square. But for some reason, Excel isn't letting us do that. So just for consistency, we are going to keep it the same, but it is best practice to keep them consistent, which means that this 0.75 technically should not go here, and we should have changed the bins a little bit, but Excel isn't letting us do that. And so now we're going to put in the count. We're going to say how many values are between 0.75 and 1.25. And if you click and drag and highlight all those numbers, watch this box as I'm highlighting it. Notice how it's saying, it tells you how many. It says 7R. It means I've got 7 rows. As soon as you lift away, it goes away. But once you do that, then you know that there's 7. And so 1.25, we're not going to include it, but we go up to 1.75, and look in that top left box. It tells us there are 10. And from 1.75, we're not going to include that. Up to 2.25, there was nothing. And if we look at our histogram right here, there was nothing here. And if we look at this bar right here, it was 10 high. We got 10, 7. So we're going to put a 0 there. And then we can count or look at our bars. So from 2.25 up to 2.75, we have 5, which is what we have on the histogram. And 2.25 up to 2.75. We've got, I wrote one in twice. And then the last 2, there's just 1 of each. So these numbers are the same as the heights of the bars in the histogram. And now if you type in a new cell underneath it equals SUM parenthesis and highlight those values, it will tell you how many there were total. There were 24 items here, and we can click and drag and see that as well. So if we click down here and look in that top left, there's 24 items, so that's what we want. And now we're going to find the decimal. So we're going to hit equals, click on the count, and divide it by 24. And so there's our decimal value. And so we can do that for each one. We can click equals, count, divide by 24. And you can do that for all of them, or once you have the formula in, you can get this little plus sign and click and drag. And when you click on it, it shows you it took this cell and divided it by 24. And if we have the sum here equals SUM, parentheses, click and drag, it adds up to 1 because it's 100%, all the data. And now I'm going to hit equals and copy all this data over. And if you get that little plus sign and click and drag, it'll show up just like that. And then if you right click and go to format, we're going to change it to a percent. So again, you're going to right click on your data and go to format and click on percent and click OK. And so what it did was it took each of these values and multiplied it by 100 to get it as a percent. We can format the data if we want. We can make it bold or underline and centered. We can make it into a nice table by putting in all the borders. But there's our frequency diagram.